Introduction, the age of distraction and the return to yourself. In a world overflowing with noise, where your attention is pulled in 1,000 directions and your mind is constantly under siege, the rarest and most powerful act a person can commit is to return to themselves. This age, your age, our age, is defined by distraction. Platforms fight for your focus, people pull at your energy, and expectations weigh on your spirit. You are told to chase more, want more, do more, compare more, consume more. Yet in the midst of this endless pursuit, something essential has quietly slipped through the cracks: your inner sovereignty. The Stoics warned that the greatest threat to a human being has never been hardship, adversity, or misfortune. It has always been the inability to rule one's own mind. And today, more than ever, people have surrendered their inner kingdom without even noticing. They let the world dictate what they should desire, fear, strive for, and avoid. They let circumstances define their worth. They let emotions steer their behavior. They let society decide their values. You don't need more information. You don't need more opinions. You don't need more noise. You need yourself back. This is why the teachings of Stoicism, ancient yet timeless, have surged again with such urgency. It is not because people suddenly became philosophical. It is because people instinctively feel that something in modern life is misaligned, chaotic, and corrosive, and they are searching for a compass that points them inward instead of outward. The Stoics left us such a compass: precise, unmoving, incorruptible. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotion. It is not about detachment from life. It is not about apathy, coldness, or passive acceptance. Stoicism is the art of mastering oneself in a world that constantly tries to pull you away from who you truly are. It teaches you to become centered in a world that thrives on pressure. It teaches you to remain steady when everything around you shakes. It teaches you to stay present in a world obsessed with everything but the present moment. It teaches you to be free in a world determined to own your attention. This text, this journey, will guide you through 12 Stoic lessons designed to bring you back to your highest self. These lessons are not abstract ideals. They are practical. They are grounded. They are forged from centuries of human struggle, insight, and lived experience. They have been tested in war, in exile, in famine, in power, in the rise and collapse of empires. They are not theories. They are survival mechanisms for the soul, because at its core, Stoicism is training. Training for the mind, training for the will, training for the spirit. You will learn how the Stoics turned stress into strength, uncertainty into clarity, discomfort into growth, and adversity into fuel. You will learn why focusing on yourself deeply, truthfully, courageously is not selfishness, but a duty, a responsibility, a prerequisite for helping anyone else or building anything meaningful. You will learn why modern life has made so many people spiritually weak and emotionally fragile, and how the Stoic practice can rebuild you from the inside out. You will learn why the greatest men and women throughout history, from emperors to generals, from thinkers to pioneers, used Stoic principles to guide their lives when everything around them fell apart. And through these lessons, you will learn how to navigate 2026 and beyond with a mind that is unshakable, a heart that is disciplined, and a spirit that is truly free. As these teachings unfold, let this text from sculpted grace serve as your quiet companion, a call to return to your center, a reminder that greatness is not given, it is forged, that confidence is not inherited, it is trained, That inner peace is not purchased. It is earned moment by moment, decision by decision, day by day. You are here not to escape the world, but to master yourself within it. You are here to reclaim what is rightfully yours. Your focus, your discipline, your emotions, your strength, your purpose. This is where the noise ends. This is where your clarity begins. This is where you return to yourself. Chapter 1. Focus on yourself or be lost in the world. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize they have been living outward instead of inward. A moment when the exhaustion becomes too loud to ignore, when the expectations of others start to feel like chains rather than guidance, when the comparisons, the judgments, the noise, and the endless striving for approval begin to suffocate the soul. This moment is not a failure. It is the beginning of awakening. It is the first crack in the shell the world built around you. It is the moment you realize that you have been investing your energy into everything except the one thing that truly matters, yourself. The Stoics taught that the human mind is the only true possession you will ever own. Not your reputation, not your relationships, not your money, not your accomplishments. Your mind, your inner world, your capacity to think, choose, reject, discipline, and rise above. But most people spend their entire lives outsourcing their power. They let others decide how they should feel, what they should chase, what they should fear, what they should value. They live in constant response to the world instead of living from the strength of their own center. To focus on yourself is not selfishness, it is sovereignty. Because when you don't focus on yourself, others will focus you for their benefit, not yours. When you don't prioritize yourself, the world will assign you a role that benefits its agenda, not your growth. When you don't choose your direction, you will be pulled into someone else's path and told to be grateful for it. This is why Marcus Aurelius warned repeatedly, "You become what you give your attention to. If your attention is scattered, you become scattered. If your attention is consumed by noise, you become noisy inside. If your attention is given to the opinions of others, you become a prisoner to their thoughts, never your own." Focusing on yourself is the foundation of mastery, because all transformation begins internally before it expresses externally. You cannot change your life while neglecting the person who lives it. You cannot build discipline while ignoring your habits. You cannot create peace while ignoring your mind. You cannot build a future while abandoning your present. When you turn inward, truly inward, you begin to see the truth with a clarity the external world can never provide, that your energy has been leaking in all directions, that your identity has been shaped by people who never understood you, and that your life was moving, but not in the direction your soul was actually craving. This is why the first Stoic lesson is simple yet revolutionary. Reclaim your attention, reclaim your inner world, reclaim yourself. Because everything else, strength, peace, power, purpose, begins from there. The world will try to pull you away from yourself. Every day, you are bombarded with temptations to abandon yourself. Social media tells you who to be. Society tells you what to want. Culture tells you what success should look like. Other people project their insecurities onto you as advice. You are told to compare, to compete, to rush, to achieve, to constantly measure your worth by external metrics that never satisfy because they never end. And gradually, without realizing it, you drift further and further away from yourself. You drift into the expectations of others. You drift into roles you didn't choose. You drift into dreams that aren't yours. You drift into a life built on pressure instead of purpose. The Stoics understood this drift well. Epictetus warned that if you do not guard your mind fiercely, it becomes the property of others. Seneca warned that the crowd is the greatest corrupter of the soul. Marcus Aurelius warned that losing yourself among the opinions of others is the fastest path to misery. The world does not want you to focus on yourself. The world wants you distracted, reactive, emotionally volatile, and easily influenced. Because a person who is centered cannot be controlled. A person who is self-directed cannot be manipulated. A person who knows themselves cannot be swayed by trends, criticism, or the chaos around them. So the world will try to pull you away. It will tempt you with noise. It will lure you with validation. It will provoke you with fear. It will exhaust you with comparison. It will drown you in expectations. But the Stoic returns inward, not to escape the world, but to master themselves within it. When you anchor yourself deeply, the world cannot move you. When you hold your mind firmly, the world cannot infiltrate you. When you know who you are and what you value, the world cannot deceive you. This is why everything changes the moment you begin focusing on yourself. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You become calmer in storms, clearer in confusion, stronger in uncertainty, wiser in conflict, more intentional in action. And slowly, you begin to see what the Stoics saw. When you master yourself, everything else begins to fall into place. Chapter 2. Protect your energy like a kingdom. There is a reason the Stoics compared the mind to a fortress. Anything that enters it either strengthens you or destroys you. No empire has ever fallen from a single attack. It weakens slowly through infiltration, distraction, mismanagement, and the quiet erosion of discipline. And this is exactly how most people lose their inner strength. Not through catastrophe, but through slow, unguarded leaks of energy. Your energy is your life force. Your energy shapes your thoughts. Your energy fuels your decisions, your discipline, your growth, your ambition. Your energy determines the quality of your relationships, your work, your creativity, and your peace. Yet most people treat their energy like an unlimited resource, giving it away freely, allowing anyone access to it, letting the smallest inconveniences drain them, letting trivial problems occupy their mind, letting emotionally chaotic people live in their head rent-free. You cannot live a stoic life while living with an unprotected mind. You cannot stay grounded while allowing everything to pull you off center. You cannot become powerful while permitting anything to weaken your foundation. The Stoic protects their energy the way a king protects his kingdom, firmly, decisively, unapologetically, because everything in your life, your growth, your clarity, your success, depends on how well you guard the gates of your mind. You cannot rise while carrying what weighs you down. Most people fail to grow, not because they are incapable, not because they lack opportunity, but because they drag too much emotional weight with them. They carry resentment from years ago. They carry relationships that drain them. They carry guilt that is no longer relevant. They carry the expectations of people who never understood their path. They carry obligations that serve everything except their purpose. They carry fears that don't belong to them. They carry the noise of every voice except their own. But you cannot ascend while holding on to what keeps you low. Before a person rises, the Stoics taught, they must release. Before clarity comes, there must be a clearing. Before strength emerges, there must be a shedding of weakness. And before a new version of you appears, the old version must be allowed to die. Your energy is not infinite. Your time is not replaceable. Your mind is not a public playground. And yet, most people give their precious attention to things that degrade it. They allow their mind to engage with drama that does not matter. They argue about things that do not change. They carry emotional burdens that are not theirs to solve. They allow people to disturb their peace simply because they are afraid to set boundaries. But the Stoics teach a different path. Protect your energy with precision, not by withdrawing from life, but by choosing where your life force goes. Not by rejecting people, but by refusing to let chaos enter your mental space. Not by isolating, but by discerning. You become selective not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. You become firm not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. You become disciplined not out of coldness, but out of self-respect. Your energy is the currency that shapes your entire existence. Spend it wisely, or someone else will spend it for you. Chapter 3. Master your emotions, or be mastered by them. One of the greatest misunderstandings about Stoicism is the idea that Stoics suppress their emotions. This is false. The Stoics never encouraged emotional denial, only emotional discipline. There is a monumental difference. Suppression is weakness disguised as strength. Suppression is fear pretending to be control. Suppression is burying a fire under dry leaves and convincing yourself it won't eventually ignite into chaos. The Stoics did not run from emotion. They studied it, understood it, and then commanded it. An undisciplined emotion is like a wild horse, powerful, beautiful, but capable of destroying everything in its path when left untrained. A disciplined emotion becomes a force of movement, clarity, and precision. Anger becomes assertiveness. Fear becomes awareness. Sadness becomes depth. Desire becomes drive. Pain becomes wisdom. The Stoic path is not to kill emotion, but to cultivate it, shape it, and align it with reason. And this is where most people lose themselves. They allow emotions to dictate their decisions. They allow impulses to choose their reactions. They allow temporary feelings to create permanent consequences. They allow moods to destroy relationships, opportunities, and inner coherence. The Stoics knew that emotions are not the enemy. Untrained emotions are. Your emotions are messengers, not masters. When something triggers you, an insult, a disappointment, a rejection, a sudden change, you experience a surge of emotional reaction. Most people interpret that reaction as absolute truth. They react immediately. They defend themselves. They lash out. They panic. They withdraw. They spiral. They become puppets pulled by the strings of their own feelings. But the Stoics practiced something radically different. Observation before reaction. Before acting, they paused. Before speaking, they reflected. Before deciding, they questioned the impulse inside them. Marcus Aurelius often asked himself, "Is this within my control?" Epictetus asked, "What judgment have I added to this event?" Seneca asked, "Will this matter when time has softened it?" These questions created space, precious space, between stimulus and response, and in that space, the emotion lost its power to control. This is emotional mastery, not freezing the feeling, but framing it, not suffocating the reaction, but slowing it, not denying the storm, but anchoring yourself so the storm does not move you. Your emotions exist to deliver messages, not orders. Anger tells you something needs to change. Fear tells you something deserves caution. Sadness tells you something meaningful has shifted. Joy tells you something is aligned. But none of these emotions are meant to drive the vehicle of your life. They sit in the passenger seat, offering information. Reason is the driver. Without reason, emotion becomes destruction. With reason, emotion becomes strength. A person who cannot control their emotions cannot control their destiny. Think about how many lives have been shattered because of a moment of uncontrolled emotion. How many opportunities were lost because someone acted in anger? How many relationships dissolved because someone couldn't regulate insecurity or jealousy? How many dreams were abandoned because fear disguised itself as logic? How many self-sabotaging decisions were made in moments of sadness, confusion, or frustration? When emotion becomes your master, your life becomes unpredictable, unstable, chaotic, fragile. But when you become the master of your emotions, your life becomes stable, intentional, structured, and deeply powerful. Because emotional mastery affects everything. Your relationships become healthier. Your goals become clearer. Your discipline becomes stronger. Your thinking becomes sharper. Your resilience becomes unshakable. You stop interpreting everything personally. You stop overreacting to minor problems. You stop giving your peace away to situations that don't deserve it. You stop letting feelings override your values. You move with purpose instead of impulse. You speak with intention instead of reaction. You choose with clarity instead of chaos. The Stoics understood that the person who can control their emotions becomes dangerous, not because they harm others, but because nothing can easily harm them. The world loses its grip on you. Other people's moods stop affecting you. Your past stops controlling you. Your fears stop limiting you. Your impulses stop sabotaging you. You become centered, collected, grounded, empowered. You do not become emotionless. You become emotionally sovereign. Chapter 4. Discipline, the highest form of self-respect. If there is one virtue the Stoics placed above almost every other, it is discipline. Not because discipline is glamorous, not because it makes life easier, not because it feeds the ego, but because discipline is the foundation of freedom. Without discipline, you become a prisoner to your impulses. Without discipline, your potential rots in the dark. Without discipline, your desires never manifest into reality. Without discipline, your ideas stay unexpressed, your goals remain fantasies, and your future becomes a reflection of your excuses rather than your abilities. The Stoics believed that the disciplined person is the truly powerful person because they are no longer controlled by the whims of emotion, fatigue, craving, laziness, or external temptation. They become the ruler of their own life. Discipline is not punishment. It is the quiet structure that keeps your soul aligned. It is the training of the mind, the strengthening of the will, the shaping of character. And yet, discipline is one of the most resisted forces in the modern world precisely because people have been conditioned to choose comfort over growth, convenience over mastery, and instant gratification over long-term fulfillment. But comfort never made anyone strong. Convenience never built character. Instant gratification never created a meaningful life. The Stoics understood this at the deepest level. They knew that discipline was not about restriction, it was about liberation. It was about freeing yourself from the chains of your impulses. It was about training the mind to obey reason rather than momentary emotion. It was about becoming the kind of person who follows through, regardless of mood, regardless of temptation, regardless of difficulty. Discipline is self-respect made visible. Your future depends on the habits you build today. Every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every habit you reinforce compounds into the architecture of your future. This is why the Stoics were relentless about daily practices: journaling, reflection, self-examination, intentional routines. They understood a timeless truth. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your discipline. Most people do not fail because they lack talent or intelligence. They fail because they lack consistency. They start strong but finish weak. They rely on motivation instead of structure. They wait for inspiration instead of discipline. They treat effort as optional instead of necessary. And in doing so, they sabotage themselves long before life ever challenges them. Discipline demands that you show up even when you don't feel like it. Discipline demands that you honor your commitments, even when they're inconvenient. Discipline demands that you follow through with your values, not your moods. Discipline demands that you do what needs to be done, not what your impulses prefer. When you practice discipline, something extraordinary happens. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to follow your own commands. You begin to see that your word to yourself is binding. You begin to respect your boundaries, your goals, your standards. You begin to move differently in the world. The undisciplined man is at war with himself. The disciplined man is at peace with himself. The undisciplined man fears challenges. The disciplined man creates challenges to strengthen himself. The undisciplined man needs accountability from others. The disciplined man holds himself accountable. The undisciplined man is controlled by external forces. The disciplined man is controlled only by reason and purpose. Discipline transforms you because it forces you to confront the parts of yourself you have been avoiding. It exposes the excuses you hide behind. It reveals where your weaknesses live. But instead of fearing that exposure, the Stoic welcomes it, because only what is exposed can be strengthened, and only what is disciplined can be trusted. When you practice discipline consistently, life becomes less chaotic. Your mind quiets. Your direction sharpens. Your self-worth grows. You stop questioning whether you can achieve something because you've proven through action that you can be relied on. You no longer drift. You move with intention, direction, and force. Discipline is the ultimate expression of inner power. Chapter 5. The Art of Letting Go. Free yourself from what no longer serves you. Humans cling. They cling to memories, to expectations, to people who have outgrown them, to identities that no longer reflect their truth, to failures that haunt them, and to versions of themselves that died a long time ago. The Stoics understood this tragic pattern well. Most of human suffering does not come from life itself, but from resistance to what life reveals. It comes from trying to hold on to what is already gone. It comes from fighting to control what was never ours to begin with. It comes from refusing to release what we've outgrown emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Letting go is one of the most difficult disciplines a person can practice because it requires brutal honesty. It requires admitting that something you once valued no longer aligns with who you are becoming. But letting go is also one of the most freeing, transformative acts a person can perform. The Stoics taught that freedom is not the absence of restraint, it is the absence of unnecessary attachment. It is the ability to move through life lightly, unburdened by what weighs the soul down. Holding on feels safe. Letting go feels terrifying. But the truth is the opposite. It is attachment to the wrong things that destroys us. People hold on because they fear loss. They fear emptiness. They fear uncertainty. They fear having to rebuild. But what they don't realize is that by clinging to what no longer serves them, they are already losing themselves. The Stoic sees letting go not as defeat, but as purification, a clearing of space, a removal of dead weight, a shedding of emotional baggage. Letting go doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean you devalue what once mattered. It doesn't mean you pretend it never shaped you. It means you allow the past to stay in the past so the present can breathe again. Letting go is not abandonment. It is release. It is self-respect. It is alignment. It is choosing peace over attachments that create internal warfare. You cannot become who you are until you release who you no longer are. Life is a constant process of becoming. The Stoics understood that identity is not fixed. It is a living, evolving expression of your choices, your values, your experiences, and your growth. Yet many people cling to outdated versions of themselves because change feels like self-betrayal rather than self-evolution. They remain loyal to old habits, old wounds, old roles, old relationships, old mindsets, because they are familiar. But familiarity is not freedom. Familiarity is not growth. Familiarity is not truth. You cannot step into the next chapter of your life while dragging the debris of the last one. You cannot build a stronger version of yourself while defending the weaknesses of your former self. You cannot chase your future while protecting your past. The Stoics urged constant self-examination. Does this belief still serve me? Does this relationship still align with my values? Does this habit make me stronger or weaker? Does this environment feed my growth or drain it? Does this fear still have any grounding in reality? Most people never ask these questions because they don't want the answers. Answers demand action. Action demands courage. Courage demands letting go. Letting go forces you to confront the truth that growth requires sacrifice. You must sacrifice comfort for clarity, nostalgia for progress, attachment for alignment, and fear for freedom. You must let the old identity die so a wiser one can be born. This is why the Stoics practiced premeditation, imagining loss not to suffer, but to prepare. This is why they practiced non-attachment, not to avoid love, but to avoid dependency. This is why they emphasized impermanence, not to weaken joy, but to deepen appreciation. To let go is to accept impermanence as a companion rather than an enemy. It is to understand that what is truly meant for you will never require you to betray yourself. It is to trust that anything that leaves your life creates space for something better, a line to enter. Letting go is not an ending. It is a realignment, a recalibration, a return to your truest self. Because in the end, you do not lose by letting go. You lose by holding on to what keeps you from growing. Chapter 6, The Power of Presence, Mastering the Moment. The Stoics understood something that most of the modern world refuses to see. The present is all we truly have. The past is a memory. The future is a projection. Both are beyond our control. Yet humans spend endless hours imprisoned by regrets that cannot be undone, by anxieties that may never materialize, by plans that depend on forces outside their grasp. The mind flits endlessly between what was and what might be, and in doing so, it forfeits the only moment it can ever truly command. Now, presence is not merely awareness. Presence is mastery. It is the act of aligning thought, body, and action fully with the moment in which you exist. To be present is to refuse to let the mind wander into the chaos of should have or what if. It is to anchor yourself in the clarity of reality, rather than the illusions of expectation. The Stoics knew that a man or woman who masters the present is impervious to the distractions and storms of life, because they no longer rent their attention to forces they cannot influence. When you are fully present, life does not happen to you. You happen to life. Why presence is power. Most people misunderstand power. They equate it with influence, control, or recognition. True power, the Stoics taught, is mastery over oneself. It is sovereignty of the mind, clarity of purpose, and precision in action. And none of these are possible without presence. Consider this. When your mind is elsewhere, trapped in a past mistake, anticipating a future challenge, or chasing validation, you are not acting, you are reacting. You are being moved by external circumstance rather than shaping it with intention. You are handing your energy to the chaotic currents of life, instead of using it to build your own vessel, strong enough to navigate them. Presence allows you to see reality clearly. It allows you to notice patterns others miss. It allows you to choose responses rather than reflexes. It allows you to engage with the world without being swallowed by it. Presence is the difference between a life drifted through and a life deliberately navigated, the practice of presence. Presence is cultivated, not inherited. It requires training the mind like a warrior trains the body. The Stoics practiced daily rituals to sharpen it. Morning, anchoring, begin each day with deliberate focus. Before checking messages, before speaking to anyone, spend 10 minutes grounding yourself in the reality of the day. Breathe. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Set clear intention for your actions. Anchor yourself to what you will control, not what you hope will happen. Micro moments of attention. Throughout the day, pause intentionally. Notice your surroundings, your emotions, your thoughts. Where is your attention? Where is your energy going? Correct course whenever it drifts. Presence is built one conscious breath at a time. Single tasking. Modern life idolizes multitasking, but it scatters the mind. The Stoics valued deep focus. Approach one task at a time with your full capacity. Give it your undivided attention. Do not rush. Do not anticipate. Do not allow the mind to wander into what is not in front of you. Evening reflection. End the day with quiet review. Reflect not on what distracted you, but on what you observed, what you learned, and where you were fully present. Celebrate moments of clarity. Adjust where you faltered. Presence is strengthened through honest evaluation. The liberation of now. To be present is to be free, free from regret, free from anxiety, free from the invisible chains of expectation. The Stoics recognize that freedom is not escaping circumstance. It is mastery over the mind, and mastery begins with presence. When you anchor yourself in the now, the world's distractions lose their power. Your emotions, untamed and reactive, are softened into tools. Your thoughts, scattered and chaotic, align into strategy. Your actions, impulsive and inconsistent, gain precision. Presence transforms life from a storm into a series of navigable currents. The present is your arena. It is the only place where life is real, where growth is possible, where virtue is practiced. If you surrender it to distraction, to worry, to comparison, you surrender the very ground on which your power is built. To let go is to accept impermanence as a companion rather than an enemy. It is to understand that what is truly meant for you will never require you to betray yourself. It is to trust that anything that leaves your life creates space for something better, a line to enter. Letting go is not an ending. It is a realignment, a recalibration, a return to your truest self. Because in the end, you do not lose by letting go. You lose by holding on to what keeps you from growing. Chapter 6, The Power of Presence, Mastering the Moment. The Stoics understood something that most of the modern world refuses to see. The present is all we truly have. The past is a memory. The future is a projection. Both are beyond our control. Yet humans spend endless hours imprisoned by regrets that cannot be undone, by anxieties that may never materialize, by plans that depend on forces outside their grasp. The mind flits endlessly between what was and what might be, and in doing so, it forfeits the only moment it can ever truly command. Now, presence is not merely awareness. Presence is mastery. It is the act of aligning thought, body, and action fully with the moment in which you exist. To be present is to refuse to let the mind wander into the chaos of should have or what if. It is to anchor yourself in the clarity of reality, rather than the illusions of expectation. The Stoics knew that a man or woman who masters the present is impervious to the distractions and storms of life, because they no longer rent their attention to forces they cannot influence. When you are fully present, life does not happen to you. You happen to life. Why presence is power. Most people misunderstand power. They equate it with influence, control, or recognition. True power, the Stoics taught, is mastery over oneself. It is sovereignty of the mind, clarity of purpose, and precision in action. And none of these are possible without presence. Consider this. When your mind is elsewhere, trapped in a past mistake, anticipating a future challenge, or chasing validation, you are not acting, you are reacting. You are being moved by external circumstance rather than shaping it with intention. You are handing your energy to the chaotic currents of life, instead of using it to build your own vessel, strong enough to navigate them. Presence allows you to see reality clearly. It allows you to notice patterns others miss. It allows you to choose responses rather than reflexes. It allows you to engage with the world without being swallowed by it. Presence is the difference between a life drifted through and a life deliberately navigated, the practice of presence. Presence is cultivated, not inherited. It requires training the mind like a warrior trains the body. The Stoics practiced daily rituals to sharpen it. Morning, anchoring, begin each day with deliberate focus. Before checking messages, before speaking to anyone, spend 10 minutes grounding yourself in the reality of the day. Breathe. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Set clear intention for your actions. Anchor yourself to what you will control, not what you hope will happen. Micro moments of attention. Throughout the day, pause intentionally. Notice your surroundings, your emotions, your thoughts. Where is your attention? Where is your energy going? Correct course whenever it drifts. Presence is built one conscious breath at a time. Single tasking. Modern life idolizes multitasking, but it scatters the mind. The Stoics valued deep focus. Approach one task at a time with your full capacity. Give it your undivided attention. Do not rush. Do not anticipate. Do not allow the mind to wander into what is not in front of you. Evening reflection. End the day with quiet review. Reflect not on what distracted you, but on what you observed, what you learned, and where you were fully present. Celebrate moments of clarity. Adjust where you faltered. Presence is strengthened through honest evaluation. The liberation of now. To be present is to be free, free from regret, free from anxiety, free from the invisible chains of expectation. The Stoics recognize that freedom is not escaping circumstance. It is mastery over the mind, and mastery begins with presence. When you anchor yourself in the now, the world's distractions lose their power. Your emotions, untamed and reactive, are softened into tools. Your thoughts, scattered and chaotic, align into strategy. Your actions, impulsive and inconsistent, gain precision. Presence transforms life from a storm into a series of navigable currents. The present is your arena. It is the only place where life is real, where growth is possible, where virtue is practiced. If you surrender it to distraction, to worry, to comparison, you surrender the very ground on which your power is built. Exercise in presence. For the next hour, do not allow your mind to drift to the past or future. Focus entirely on what is in front of you. Observe your thoughts as though you are watching clouds pass in the sky. Do not cling. Do not resist. Simply notice. Engage fully in each action, no matter how small. Speak, listen, walk, eat. Work with your full awareness. At the end of the hour, journal what you noticed, what you controlled, and where your attention escaped. Presence is not a reward. It is a discipline. It is forged in quiet moments of focus, repetition, and self-command. It is the foundation upon which all Stoic strength is built. Chapter 7. The Isolation of Excellence. Excellence is lonely, true mastery, the kind that cannot be faked, does not grow in crowds. It does not flourish in applause or in comfort. It grows in solitude, in repetition, in the quiet devotion to one's principles. The Stoics understood this. They knew that the path of growth is often misunderstood by those who do not walk it. It is walked alone, not out of rejection, but by necessity. Society tells us that success is about being seen, about recognition, about followers and fans. The Stoics saw the truth. Recognition is fleeting, applause is temporary, and the crowd is easily distracted. What lasts is the work done in silence, the character built when no one watches, the virtues cultivated in the invisible hours. The value of solitude. Solitude is not punishment. It is a forge. In the quiet, you confront yourself without distraction. You measure your progress without comparison. You face your weaknesses without excuses. You sharpen your mind, refine your purpose, and strengthen your will. Solitude is the crucible in which excellence is tempered. Many flee from being alone because they fear discomfort, fear reflection, fear a confrontation with their own shortcomings. The Stoics embraced it. Marcus Aurelius spent hours in reflection not to impress anyone, but to align himself with reason. Epictetus lived largely in silence, teaching that the mind grows strongest when it is undisturbed by external noise. To be alone is to be free, free to think, free to build, free to act according to principle rather than performance, free from the judgments of the crowd, free from the distraction of opinion, free from the invisible chains of expectation. The discipline of isolation. Excellence requires deliberate isolation. This is not about withdrawing from the world entirely, but about choosing when to step away from noise and influence to focus on what matters. Scheduled solitude. Set aside time each week where no one disturbs you. No notifications, no social media, no obligations that are not essential. Use this time to reflect, plan, and build. Internal conversation. Speak to yourself with clarity and discipline. Ask, what am I building today? What principle am I honoring? What weakness am I confronting? Purposeful action. While alone, act with deliberate intention. Small, focused actions compound over time. Excellence is rarely explosive. It is incremental. The solitude of excellence is uncomfortable at first. The mind rebels against quiet. The ego protests the absence of attention, but the more you practice, the more strength you cultivate. And the rewards are not external, they are internal, lasting, unshakable. Misunderstood by the many. Those who pursue excellence often appear distant, aloof, or even cold. To the uninitiated, friends, family, and colleagues may misinterpret focus as arrogance, discipline as detachment, or silence as indifference. The Stoics understood. This misunderstanding is inevitable and irrelevant. Your work is not for them. It is for you. Do not seek to justify your solitude. Do not try to explain your discipline. Let your actions speak for themselves over time. When people see the results, they will notice. But your focus cannot depend on their attention. Excellence does not ask for validation. It commands respect by its mere presence. Exercise in solitude. Pick one day a week for focused solitude. Turn off all notifications. Speak only when necessary. Reflect on your values, goals, and weaknesses. Choose one area to refine or strengthen. Take one deliberate action toward mastery in that area. Journal your reflections. Track progress without external feedback. Excellence grows in the soil of isolation. Recognition is a byproduct, not the aim. Your discipline, your clarity, your virtue, they do not require witnesses. They require only your commitment. The Stoic knows. The crowd is fleeting, the world is noisy, and attention is scarce. But the work you do alone, the internal sharpening, the disciplined reflection, the deliberate action, is eternal. The person you become in silence is stronger than any applause could make you. Chapter 8. The Armor of Consistency. Consistency is invisible, but it is the true measure of strength. While the world searches for shortcuts, hacks, or overnight success, the Stoic builds armor through daily discipline. There are no magic formulas, no sudden leaps to mastery. Excellence is not born of inspiration. It is forged through relentless repetition. The Stoics knew that showing up day after day, even when it feels mundane, is more powerful than bursts of passion followed by neglect. Marcus Aurelius journaled daily not for applause but for alignment. Seneca wrote letters consistently not for fame but to refine thought. Epictetus repeated lessons over and over not for novelty but for mastery. Why consistency matters builds identity. Each repeated action becomes a building block of character. Who you are is the sum of what you do consistently. Amplifies effort. Small efforts compounded over time surpass occasional brilliance. A single act matters less than the pattern it creates trust in yourself first. Reliability, even when unseen, cements your confidence and self-respect. Consistency is the quiet armor you wear against chaos life, will challenge you with distractions, temptations, setbacks, and failures. Discipline alone does not prevent these trials, but consistency ensures that you are prepared to endure them. It is the internal scaffolding that supports strength when the external world shakes. The misconception of progress. Modern culture glorifies dramatic change, overnight results, and visible success. But the Stoic sees through this illusion. Growth is often invisible, incremental, uncelebrated. It is the daily practice of virtue, the repeated alignment with principle, the accumulation of small victories that shapes a resilient character. Do not chase recognition or shortcuts. Chase consistency. Let it be your armor. Let it protect you from impatience, frustration, and the allure of distraction. The one who is consistent is unstoppable, not because they are flashy, but because they are steady. Practicing consistency. Pick core actions. Identify one or two practices that strengthen your mind, body, or character. Do them daily. No negotiation. Show up even when uninspired, tired, or distracted. Track. Progress. Keep a journal, a log, or a habit tracker. Let your discipline become visible only to you. Resist external validation. Do not perform for applause. Your reward is the strength you cultivate. Embrace small steps. Even minimal action, repeated faithfully, compounds into mastery. Consistency is your shield and your sword. It defends against chaos, doubt, and distraction. It empowers you to face challenges with composure. It transforms discipline into identity and identity into freedom. Exercise in armor. Identify one daily habit that fortifies your mental, physical, or moral strength. Commit to it without exception for 30 days. Record each day's completion, not for recognition, but for accountability to yourself. Reflect weekly. How is this shaping your character, your focus, your resilience? The Stoic builds not for applause, but for endurance. Consistency is the armor that cannot rust, the structure that cannot crumble, the power that does not fade. The lesson is clear. Do not seek quick fixes or temporary motivation. Build habits, build discipline, and build yourself consistently. Let your daily repetition become the foundation of unshakable strength. In time, the world will notice, not because you demanded it, but because the results are undeniable. Chapter 9. Silence as Strength. In an age where noise is constant, silence is a rebellion. To speak less is not weakness, it is mastery. To remain quiet when the world screams for attention is not absence, it is presence. The Stoics recognized that the mind grows strongest in stillness, not in constant expression. The power of silence observation. Before reaction, the quiet mind notices patterns, sees motives, and measures risks before acting. Words spoken without reflection often betray the speaker. Silence creates the space for thought to take root. Preservation of energy. Each word, each post, each argument carries energy. By withholding unnecessary expression, the Stoic preserves their vitality for action that matters. Authority without display. A silent person exerts influence not by volume, but by presence. Their calm commands attention. Their restraint earns respect. Seneca observed, "See, speech is the mirror of the soul. As a man speaks, so is he. But the wise man knows when not to speak." True power does not demand validation. It does not shout. It waits. It measures before it moves. Silence as discipline. Silence is not withdrawal. It is strategy. It is preparation. By sitting quietly, the Stoic strengthens inner fortitude, clarifies priorities, and fortifies judgment. In a world that prizes expression over reflection, choosing stillness is an act of sovereignty. Mental clarity. A mind unburdened by constant chatter makes better decisions. Emotional regulation. Silence allows emotions to settle, reducing impulsive reactions. Self-mastery. Withholding unnecessary speech is a rehearsal in restraint and control. Practical exercise in silence 1 hour daily. Set aside an hour without speaking, posting, or responding. Observe your mind. Use the time to reflect, journal, or meditate. Notice recurring thoughts without judgment. Guard against impulses. Notice urges to speak or act out of habit, and choose restraint. Evaluate. Later, Reflect on insights gained from this silence. How did it shape your perception and composure? Silence sharpens clarity, it trains attention, it strengthens resolve. In cultivating quiet, you are not passive. You are preparing, observing, and fortifying your inner world. The Stoic advantage. While others chase noise, attention, and recognition, the silent Stoic builds presence. Quiet people often wield the greatest power because their actions are deliberate, their words weighted, and their attention undistracted. Noise cannot manipulate them, chaos cannot unsettle them, and opinion cannot derail them. The strongest minds are often the quietest. The most resilient souls are often the least ostentatious. By embracing silence, you create a space where wisdom grows, discipline is reinforced, and focus sharpens exercise for integration. Choose a time each day to practice intentional silence. Observe your thoughts, but do not react immediately. Record any insights in a private journal. Notice how your communication changes when you speak again. Words become deliberate, not reactive. Silence is strength. It is clarity. It is a fortress in a chaotic world. Chapter 10. The Quiet Power of Becoming. The Stoic does not chase recognition. He becomes quietly, relentlessly. He does not seek attention, for he knows that what is done for applause dies with silence. While the world broadcasts ambition, the Stoic refines it. While others talk of their dreams, he shapes his days. While others shout, he sharpens. He does not need to perform because he is too focused on transforming. Becoming over appearing to become is to act for internal alignment rather than external approval. Every choice, every action, every repetition contributes to a life of integrity. Recognition is a fleeting bonus, never a requirement. The Stoic's satisfaction comes from progress itself, the quiet accumulation of discipline, knowledge, and virtue. Internal standards, the only measure is your own growth. Consistency. Overexcitement. Momentum is built in repetition, not spectacle. Invisible victories. Strength is forged in moments that no one witnesses. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Words alone mean nothing. Becoming requires action. Daily practices of becoming. Measure yourself against yourself. Each day ask, am I better than I was yesterday? Not in wealth, recognition, or status, but in clarity, courage, and character. Small steps, repeated. Transformation is not dramatic. It is cumulative. Discipline is the mortar of growth. Endure the invisible. Most of your efforts will go unseen. This is where true power is built. Praise is optional. Progress is essential. Reflect nightly. Ask, what did I become today? Not what I achieved, but what I embodied. Freedom through internal mastery. When the world stops applauding, you remain. When recognition fades, your work continues. When life is chaotic, your center holds. Becoming is about claiming sovereignty over your inner world, your mind, your actions, your principles. You control the journey. No one else dictates your growth. You own your response. Life will challenge you. Your character will answer. You forge your identity. Each day, each choice, each habit compounds into the person you are becoming, the reward of Stoic becoming. It is not applause that signals success. It is the quiet knowledge that you have built a life of integrity, that your thoughts align with your actions, that your principles shape your behavior even when unseen. The reward is internal, invisible, and eternal. Clarity. You know who you are and why you act. Resilience. You stand firm regardless of external circumstance. Autonomy. You answer to your own code, not the crowd. Peace. You are free from dependency on approval, validation, or attention. Practical exercise, becoming daily morning. Check in. Before starting your day, ask, what am I building in myself today? Intentional action. Choose one deliberate action aligned with your principles, no matter how small. Evening reflection. Record what you became. Strengthened, disciplined, wiser, calmer. Silent celebration. Recognize your progress privately without seeking approval. The world may never notice. It may never acknowledge your discipline, your focus, your courage. That is irrelevant. What matters is that you notice. What matters is that you become. The quiet power of becoming is the Stoic's greatest advantage, unstoppable, unseen, and unshakable. It is a life forged not for applause, but for mastery, not for recognition, but for freedom, not for others, but for yourself. Chapter 11. Walking alone, standing strong. Excellence is rarely accompanied by crowds. True mastery is a solitary endeavor. The higher you climb in character, discipline, and wisdom, the fewer people can follow or understand your path. The Stoics embraced this. They understood that the loneliness of growth is not a punishment. It is a privilege, the strength of solitude. Solitude is the forge where clarity and courage are tempered. It is not absence of connection, but presence of focus. When the noise of the world fades, your true self emerges. In these moments, you see your thoughts clearly, unclouded by opinion. You measure your actions against principle, not applause. You cultivate endurance in the quiet, unobserved hours. Epictetus lived much of his life as a slave, yet he built a mind unconquerable. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet his wisdom was cultivated in solitary reflection. Their greatness was not measured by popularity, but by the depth of their inner lives. The courage to stand apart, walking alone, requires courage. It demands that you resist the urge to conform, to please, to explain. Many will misunderstand your discipline. Many will criticize your focus. Some may even call your independence arrogance. That is the cost of self-sovereignty. Indifference to misunderstanding. The opinions of the ungrounded are fleeting and irrelevant commitment to principle. Your alignment matters more than anyone else's approval. Persistence in silence. True progress is quiet, consistent, and invisible. To stand strong is not to reject others, but to refuse to be swayed by them. It is to anchor yourself in what matters most, even if no one else follows practical exercises for solitude and strength weekly isolation practice. Dedicate one day to focused solitude. No social media, no unnecessary conversation. Reflect on your purpose, habits, and growth. Private journaling. Record insights, progress, and self-corrections. Without concern for who might see, silent commitment. Make one promise to yourself each week and honor it privately, even when unseen. These practices reinforce independence. They build a mental and spiritual resilience that external circumstances cannot shake. The invisible crowd. Understand this. The people who cannot follow your path are not your audience. They are spectators of their own lives. You do not need validation from them. The crowd may scoff, misunderstand, or ignore your work. That is irrelevant. What matters is your commitment to becoming the person you intend to be. Solitude amplifies your focus. It allows you to refine skills, thoughts, and habits without distraction. It teaches patience. It deepens self-reliance, the power of walking alone. Walking alone is not loneliness. It is empowerment. Each step taken in alignment with principle strengthens your internal structure. Each day of private discipline compounds into a life of integrity. Each act of resilience without applause cements your freedom. You are no longer dependent on praise. You are no longer guided by fear of judgment. You are no longer trapped by distraction. You become your own standard. You carry your own respect. You sustain your own momentum. And in that, you are truly unshakable. The Stoics teach that the greatest leaders, thinkers, and masters of life walked alone. Their strength was silent, unseen, yet undeniable. Solitude is not empty, it is fertile. It is the crucible in which excellence is formed. Chapter 12. Discipline. As armor, discipline is not punishment. It is not a burden imposed by rules or society. Discipline is armor, silent, sturdy, and invisible, that protects your mind, body, and spirit from chaos. It is the shield that allows you to move through life with confidence, purpose, and clarity. The Stoic view of discipline. The Stoics did not chase fleeting motivation or rely on inspiration to act. They built systems of repeated effort, habits of self-mastery, and structures of internal accountability. They understood that life is unpredictable, and the world rarely accommodates your preferences. Discipline is what ensures your steadiness when all else falters. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Discipline is the daily work that translates this insight into action. Why? Discipline is armor against chaos. When the world is turbulent, discipline is your anchor. You act from principle, not impulse. You respond with reason, not emotion. Against weakness. Without discipline, habits of comfort, distraction, and avoidance take root. Discipline trains endurance, focus, and patience, the muscles of strength. Against entitlement, discipline reminds you that nothing is owed, everything is earned. It transforms frustration into action and disappointment into growth. Against temptation, discipline allows you to choose long-term gain over short-term gratification, principle over pleasure, mastery over indulgence. Armor is not glamorous, but it keeps you standing. Discipline is not flashy, but it keeps you steady. Building armor, daily discipline, is cumulative. It is built in small, consistent acts, repeated with purpose. Daily rituals. Establish routines that reinforce your values. Exercise, reflection, journaling, study, or meditation. These bricks create the foundation of your inner fortress. Commitment to yourself. Keep promises to yourself, no matter how inconvenient. Your word to yourself becomes a measure of your strength. Resistance training for character. Every difficult choice, every delay of gratification, every moment you act aligned rather than reactive adds a layer to your armor. Consistency is the forge. Repetition is the hammer. Every day, your discipline hardens. Every act compounds. Over time, it becomes a shield you can carry without thought because it has become your nature. The Stoic paradox. The world often rewards loudness, spectacle, and charm. Discipline is quiet. It shows up without announcement. But those who wear it are unstoppable, not because they are seen, but because they are prepared. The paradox of Stoic discipline is this: the less the world notices, the more you gain. While others chase recognition, you are cultivating resilience, endurance, and clarity. While others seek shortcuts, you are building foundations that cannot be shaken. While others perform for applause, you prepare for life. Practical exercises for armor, daily discipline. Block. Set a time each day to work on a non-negotiable habit that strengthens mind, body, or skill. Guard it fiercely. Accountability. Journal. At the end of each day, record one act of discipline you completed, one you avoided, and one area to improve tomorrow. Delayed gratification practice. Intentionally postpone a small comfort or pleasure each day. Observe how your mind adapts. Each act reinforces your armor. Through these practices, you are not merely surviving life. You are fortifying yourself to thrive within it. Discipline is the silent force that enables self-mastery. It is the reason the Stoics could remain calm in turmoil, decisive in uncertainty, and virtuous in a world indifferent to virtue. Armor does not ask for attention. It grants freedom. It does not boast. It empowers. When your discipline becomes your armor, nothing can shake the core of who you are. Chapter 13. Mastery of Attention. Attention is the currency of life. What you focus on shapes your thoughts, emotions, habits, and ultimately, your character. Yet most people give away their attention freely to social media, gossip, distractions, and the endless noise of other people's lives. They are slaves to what is fleeting, reactive, and superficial. The Stoics understood that attention is power. Guard it, cultivate it, and direct it deliberately. And you hold the reins of your inner world, squander it, and you surrender your life to the whims of others and the chaos of circumstance. The Stoic lens on focus. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness." The essence of this teaching is simple. Your power grows in proportion to where and how you place your attention. Focus is not about doing more. It is about doing less, but with absolute presence. It is choosing depth over breadth, substance over spectacle. Why attention is your kingdom control over your mind. Your attention determines what thoughts take root. By choosing where to place it, you shape your beliefs, emotions, and behaviors. Immunity to distraction. Distraction fractures energy, dissipates effort, and weakens discipline. Focused attention is your shield against the chaos of modern life. Amplifier of action. The more fully you commit attention to one task, the greater its impact. Quality compounds faster than quantity when attention is undivided. Freedom from external validation. When your attention is inward and purposeful, you stop chasing approval and start creating mastery. The practice of attention, mastery of attention, requires deliberate exercises. Single tasking. Do one task at a time, fully, without jumping between distractions. The modern world rewards multitasking, but excellence rewards single-mindedness. Controlled exposure. Limit time on media, news, and social feeds. Decide what deserves your energy. Not everything seeks your attention. Only some things are worth it. Reflection on inputs. Each morning ask, what deserves my focus today? Each evening ask, where did my attention go? Did it serve my growth or my weakness? Mindful presence. During conversations, work, or daily tasks, immerse fully. Resist the urge to drift, scroll, or fantasize. Presence is rare, but it is power. Attention as freedom. When attention is mastered, distraction no longer dominates. Anxiety, envy, and frustration fade because your mind is no longer pulled by every passing stimulus. You choose what matters, and the rest passes like background noise. The Stoics knew that mastery begins internally. You cannot control the outside world, but you can command your gaze. Your focus is your kingdom, and the discipline to defend it is the armor of sovereignty. Practical exercises daily focus hour. Dedicate one uninterrupted hour each day to a meaningful task. No phone, no internet, no diversions, just pure attention. Attention audit. For 1 week, track where your attention goes. Identify patterns of waste and distraction. Adjust deliberately. Mindful pauses. Every hour, pause for 60 seconds. Observe your thoughts. Are they serving you, or are they hijacked by noise? Return them to purpose. Through these exercises, attention becomes your tool, your shield, and your path to freedom. Mastery of attention is mastery of life. Where you place your focus is what grows. Neglect it, and chaos grows in your mind. Guard it fiercely, and even in the loudest world, you remain steady, clear, and unshakable. Chapter 14. The Strength in Patience. Patience is rarely celebrated. We live in a world of instant gratification, constant notifications, and rapid feedback loops. Yet the Stoics understood that true power grows slowly, quietly, and often imperceptibly. Patience is not passive. It is active strength. It is discipline applied over time. It is the courage to endure, to persist, and to maintain clarity. While the world demands haste, the paradox of time, most people fear waiting, rushing to results, recognition, or validation. They seek shortcuts, hacks, and quick fixes. But the Stoics knew mastery cannot be accelerated. Character, skill, and wisdom are forged over time. As Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he cannot learn the strength of his mind or the depth of his character." Patience allows you to confront adversity without despair. It teaches you that the slow, steady accumulation of effort is far more potent than sporadic bursts of frantic energy. Patience, as power endurance builds, resilience, waiting, persisting, and enduring, strengthens your ability to face challenges without being broken by them. Delayed gratification enhances results. Choosing long-term growth over short-term pleasure compounds skill, knowledge, and wisdom. Clarity emerges over time. The mind rushed by impatience makes mistakes. The patient mind observes, reflects, and acts with precision. Calmness in chaos. Patience allows you to remain steady when the world becomes turbulent, an unshakable center in the storm. The practice of patience. Patience is cultivated, not inherited. It requires deliberate exercises, incremental growth, focus on slow daily improvements rather than immediate transformations. Small, consistent actions accumulate into mastery. Resist impulses. When temptation or frustration arises, pause. Observe the urge, but choose deliberate action instead of reactive behavior. Long-term perspective. Ask yourself, will this matter in a year, in 10 years? Most distractions fade when viewed through the lens of time, reflective waiting. Use periods of waiting as opportunities for reflection, strategy, and preparation, rather than frustration, patience, and the inner world. Patience is intertwined with self-governance. An impatient person is ruled by desire and circumstance. A patient person rules their mind. By enduring discomfort, delayed results, and uncertainty, you cultivate the inner strength to persist regardless of external conditions. True patience is not resignation. It is relentless persistence paired with calm acceptance. It is the power to keep building, keep learning, and keep growing, even when progress seems invisible. Practical exercises, the waiting practice. Choose one area of your life where you normally seek immediate results. Delay your gratification deliberately and note how it feels. Reflect on the lessons learned. Daily patience, reflection. At the end of each day, write down one situation where you exercised patience and one where you failed. Assess your growth and plan to improve tomorrow. Long-term planning. Set a goal that will take months or years to achieve. Break it into small daily actions. Focus on the process, not the immediate outcome. Chapter 15. The Art of Emotional Sovereignty. Emotions are powerful. They shape perception, influence decisions, and can either enslave or empower. Most people allow themselves to be ruled by their feelings, reacting impulsively, overthinking, or being manipulated by external events. The Stoics taught that emotional sovereignty is the mastery of your inner state, the command over how you respond to life's turbulence. The nature of emotional sovereignty. Emotional sovereignty is not suppression. It is not denial or detachment from what you feel. It is awareness, discernment, and deliberate choice. Awareness. Recognizing emotions as they arise without judgment. Observation. Understanding the cause and nature of each emotion. Response. Choosing action grounded in reason rather than impulse. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the cornerstone of emotional sovereignty. Your emotions are signals, not commands. Why sovereignty matters. Freedom from external control. When your emotional state depends on others, you become a slave to their moods, opinions, and actions. Sovereignty restores freedom, clarity in chaos. Emotional mastery allows calm judgment when the world around you is in upheaval. Consistency of character. Sovereignty ensures your principles remain intact regardless of circumstance. Inner peace. A stable mind experiences less suffering not because life changes, but because you do techniques for emotional mastery. Pause before reacting. Whenever an emotion surges, create a mental space. Pause, breathe, and question, does acting on this serve my values or feed my impulses? Name your emotions. Labeling what you feel, anger, fear, frustration, reduces its unconscious control over you. Dissect the cause. Ask yourself if the emotion is rooted in reality or projection, past trauma, or imagined fear. Shift focus to actionable steps. Instead of dwelling, ask, what can I do now that aligns with my principles? Daily reflection. End each day reviewing emotional triggers. Journal how you responded and how you could improve. Stoic strategies for common emotional traps. Anger. Understand that anger is a reaction to perception, not objective reality. Shift perspective. Consider the bigger picture. Respond with patience, not rage. Fear. Fear is anticipation of a negative outcome. Prepare, plan, and take action within your control. Accept uncertainty gracefully. Envy. Envy is the theft of your peace by another's success. Focus on self-improvement, not comparison. Celebrate their victories while reinforcing your path. Grief and loss. Accept impermanence. Reflect on what remains within your control, your thoughts, choices, and actions. Exercises in emotional sovereignty. Morning calibration. Spend 10 minutes acknowledging potential triggers of the day. Mentally rehearse how you will respond with reason rather than emotion. Emotional journaling. Record moments of strong emotion. Examine the cause, your reaction, and how you could respond more skillfully next time. Mindful breathing. When overwhelmed, focus on deep, controlled breaths. Center yourself physically and mentally before making decisions. Perspective shift. Ask, will this matter in a week? A month? A year? Most emotional intensity diminishes when scaled against time. The power of emotional sovereignty. When you master your emotions, you stop being reactive, you move from chaos to composure. Your decisions reflect strategy, not whim. Your inner world becomes a fortress against the unpredictable outside world. Sovereignty is the ultimate freedom. It allows you to live not at the mercy of circumstance, but in alignment with your values. It is the calm eye in the storm, the still point from which every action is deliberate, measured, and powerful. The Stoic does not eliminate emotion. They refine it, direct it, and harness it as a tool rather than a master. The path to true strength is not the absence of feeling, but the presence of disciplined choice. Chapter 16. The Discipline of Attention. If your mind is your greatest tool, then attention is the hand that guides it. In a world designed to fracture your focus and scatter your thoughts, attention has become a rare currency, one that most people spend unconsciously, but the Stoic learns to invest deliberately. Attention shapes the quality of your days, and your days shape the quality of your life. To control your attention is to control the direction of your destiny. The power of attention. The Stoics understood that the mind becomes what it repeatedly focuses on. If you feed it chaos, it becomes chaotic. If you feed it discipline, it becomes disciplined. If you allow the world to control where your attention goes, you surrender the steering wheel of your life, Marcus Aurelius wrote. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Your attention is the dye. Most people's attention is constantly hijacked by overstimulation, constant notifications, emotional triggers, and digital noise. They never give themselves the stillness necessary for clarity or depth. Their minds become arenas of distraction, unable to concentrate long enough to build anything meaningful. The Stoic rejects this. They reclaim their focus the way a warrior reclaims their sword. Why attention? Matters. It determines what you become. Where attention goes, identity follows. It shapes your emotions. Focus on fear, and fear grows. Focus on what you can control, and strength grows. It builds or destroys discipline. Scattered attention leads to scattered effort. Focused attention sharpens discipline. It directs your time. What you attend to becomes your life. It reveals what you truly value. Your attention shows your priorities, whether you admit them or not. A distracted life is a deluded life. A focused life is a powerful one. The battle for your focus. Modern life is engineered to steal your attention. Platforms, advertisements, content, games, all designed with precision psychology to override your will and hack your impulses. The Stoic approach is simple. Reclaim the gate of your mind. Just as ancient cities had guards who decided who could enter, your attention requires guardianship. Without it, every distraction becomes an intruder. Every impulse becomes a commander, and every desire becomes a chain. How to develop the discipline of attention 1. Guard the first hour. The first hour of the day is the foundation of your focus. Avoid your phone, avoid noise, avoid the world's agenda. Focus on your priorities before the world imposes its distractions. 2. Work in deep, undisturbed blocks. Create protected time where you turn off notifications, silence your environment, and devote attention to a single task. Deep work is where mastery is built. 3. Eliminate digital overstimulation, social media, endless scrolling, constant switching of apps. These behaviors fracture attention in ways that damage long-term focus. Use them intentionally or not at all. 4. Practice single tasking. Choose one task. Finish it. Move to the next. This single shift will elevate your productivity more than any motivational mantra. 5. Remove mental clutter. Your mind cannot focus if it is filled with unnecessary worries, unresolved conflicts, or emotional noise. Journaling, meditation, and reflection create inner clarity. Stoic attention training. The discipline of noticing. Throughout the day, catch yourself drifting. Gently return your attention to the task. This trains mindfulness and mental strength. Focus on the present task. Whenever your thoughts leap to the future or the past, remind yourself, this moment is the only one I can act in. Set clear intentions. Before starting anything, ask, what exactly am I doing and why? This prevents unconscious wandering. Attention, fast. 1 day a week, minimize screens, noise, and stimulation. Give your mind space to recalibrate. The Stoic mind is a directed mind. A Stoic does not drift mentally. They direct their thoughts with precision and purpose. Their attention becomes a weapon, sharp, controlled, effective. They know that the world rewards distraction with entertainment, but rewards focus with power. Attention is the root of discipline. Discipline is the root of mastery. Mastery is the root of freedom. The individual who commands their attention becomes unstoppable, not because they work harder, but because they work with clarity. They do not waste time, energy, or mental strength on what doesn't matter. They use attention to sculpt their life deliberately, one focused moment at a time. Conclusion: the inner empire. In the end, everything the Stoics taught points to a single truth. The greatest empire you will ever rule is the one within yourself, not the empire of circumstances, not the empire of opinions, not the empire of external achievements, but the empire of your inner world, your mind, your discipline, your choices, your character. This is where true freedom resides. This is where true strength is forged. This is where your life is shaped long before the world ever sees the results. The journey inward throughout these lessons, from silence to patience to attention to emotional sovereignty, you've encountered a pattern the Stoics considered sacred. Change begins with you. Mastery begins within. Transformation begins in the mind before it ever becomes visible in the world. This is not merely philosophy, it is a way of life. Most people chase the world. The Stoic shapes themselves, and the world follows. Most people try to fix conditions. The Stoic fixes their character, and their conditions evolve. Most people seek validation. The Stoic seeks alignment between values and actions, between inner truth and outward behavior. Your power does not lie in controlling outcomes, people, or fate. Your power lies in controlling the single force that has always belonged to you, yourself. The world changes when you do. When you focus on yourself, your growth, your discipline, your mind, the world rearranges in response. Opportunities appear where before there was doubt. Clarity replaces confusion. Strength replaces hesitation. Purpose replaces distraction. Peace replaces chaos. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Not because life becomes predictable, but because you become stable. Not because others change, but because you stop being controlled by anything outside your command. This is the quiet transformation the Stoics spoke of. The world outside becomes manageable when the world inside becomes ordered. You are the sculptor and the stone. Every day you are shaping yourself through your choices, habits, thoughts, and responses. You are the sculptor, the one who decides the form your life will take. You are the stone, the raw material upon which discipline, adversity, and time carve their marks. And you are the masterpiece, the emerging result of your daily battles, victories, and internal refinements. The Stoic path is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming deliberate. It is about becoming aware. It is about becoming capable of meeting life with strength rather than fear, with clarity rather than confusion, with action rather than avoidance. This is only the beginning. Do not treat this text as an ending. Treat it as the sharpening of a blade. You have learned the principles, now you must embody them. You have read the lessons, now you must practice them. You have awakened the inner empire, now you must govern it with wisdom and courage. This is the lifelong journey of the Stoic, to return to the self again and again until the self becomes unshakable. The path is not linear, the path is not easy, but the path is yours and yours alone. Every moment is an opportunity to practice. Every challenge is a lesson. Every success is a test of character. Every setback is a sharpening stone. And with each step, each effort, each deliberate choice, you come closer to the person you were meant to become. The final lesson: focus on yourself, your discipline, your character, your inner equilibrium, and watch everything else fall into place. Not because the world bends to you, but because you are no longer bent by the world. Not because life stops being difficult, but because you stop being fragile. Not because circumstances become perfect, but because you do. Not perfect in flawlessness, but perfect in resilience, clarity, and intention. This is the Stoic secret. This is the power you now carry. The power to choose your response. The power to command your focus. The power to shape your mind. The power to build a life grounded in strength and guided by purpose. Your inner empire awaits your leadership. Begin ruling it with wisdom, with discipline, and with unbreakable calm. And as you do, remember the name you carry this journey under: sculpted grace. For that is exactly what you are building: a life sculpted by discipline and a strength shaped by grace.